Alright, welcome back guys. We're going to be working on our blue for Crimson Vow today. Same 1 to 5 score for limited only, and Yanks is on the call. We're going to go ahead and start with Alchemist's Retrieval. 1 mana for a return target non-land permanent you control to its owner's hand, or you can pay the cleave cost of 2 mana to just return any non-land permanent to its owner's hand. So this is a 2 mana instant cast bounce spell for anything with a little bit of a discount if it happens to be yours. I love bounce spells. I'm all about it.
Yeah, nothing wrong at all with this card. We pay 2 mana for that effect normally, and the fact that sometimes it's cheaper is just a bonus.
Yeah, I mean, usually the 2 mana ones have like a scry, or if it's your thing, draw a card or whatever. So it's got like a little bit of a bonus, but I feel like in this case, the bonus is the possible discount.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the score?
You should think these cards are around a 3.
Great. I also thought a 3. I was worried you might say a 2.5, but it's blue, so it gets a half a point bump for you.
And it's not a creature, so even better.
So you think this is a 4? Binding Geist, 3 mana for a 3/1 spirit. Whenever Binding Geist attacks, target creature an opponent controls gets -2/-0 until end of turn. It does it every time. Is kind of cute, and we've seen this ability on other cards before, and they are quite handy. So let's see what it does. For 2 mana, you can disturb it, and enchant creature gets -2/-0. So that's a nice little bonus. It's a bit expensive for the rate, but it's got a nice recurring thing. What do you think, Yanks?
Yeah, relevant creature type is a spirit. You know, a little bit of value on both sides. It's fine, not exciting. Got this at like a 2/5.
Yeah, it's going to depend on how much the creature type is. I mean, at rate, it's a whole mana below filler. Like 2 mana 3/2s are where we typically find the spot. But you know, if it's able to get in a time or two, because it's of that, you know, -2, -0 ability, especially if you're ahead and you're the aggressor, feels good. I like it at a 2/5 as well. All right, moving on. Biolume Egg. We have a 3 mana 0/4 with Defender. When it enters the battlefield, scry 2. When you sacrifice the egg, return it to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control at the beginning of the end step. But it doesn't have a built-in sack outlet, so you have to have something else to sack it, I assume. Yeah, right? And then it turns into sacrifice 2 islands. This serpent can't be blocked. It's a 4/4 when it turns over.
Yeah, I mean this is a plant for exploit.
Yes.
You know, it's the perfect thing to exploit. You know, the blue decks a lot of times will want to be okay with a wall. I mean, you're not thrilled with it, but scrying is nice. And then if you can turn it into a 4/4 and also get an exploit trigger out of it, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Also scry 2 is like, you know, half a card value, full card value. I mean, I'm pretty happy with scry 2, and then you're getting the free exploit, which is pretty nice. So I think this card's pretty good. What are we thinking?
This is very context dependent because you don't have enough exploit stuff. You're just getting a wall, but
yeah, it doesn't say dies like most of the 0/4s that trigger a thing. So it does feel like an exploit rating or a split rating. If you can't actually sack it, it's real bad.
Yeah, I mean, blue-black are the exploit colors. There are plenty of them, and we'll see there might be other sacrifice effects in black as well. So for the blue-black deck, this is probably very good. But the other blue color combinations, sometimes you're not going to be able to play this at all. I think this could definitely be a split, like a 1/3.
I was thinking 1/2/5, so we're pretty close.
Yeah.
All right, I'll let you take this one.
Cemetery Eliminator, 1 blue for a 2/3 flying spirit. Whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, exile a card from a graveyard. You can look at the top card of your library anytime. And once per turn, you can cast a spell from the top of your library if it shares a card type with a card exiled with Cemetery Eliminator. Note it's cast, so if you exile a land, you cannot play lands from the top of your deck. Card's really good. The rate, 3 mana for a 2/3 flyer is good on its own. Exiling a card from a graveyard can help remove disturb things from their yard. Just getting to know the top card of your library is relevant, and sometimes being able to play stuff off of it. Yeah, this is very good.
It won't be hard to hit something off of this card, and it being flying makes it way more likely to hit and get multiple types of cards compared to the white one. And I think the ability is just better in general, so I like this card a lot.
Yeah.
It's also a 2/3 flyer for 3, which I am all about. And it's a relevant creature type. I think this is a 4/5.
Yeah, I agree. It's not quite at that 5 level because does need some support to win the game, but it's very good.
Yeah. All right, Chill the Grave. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each cast if you control a zombie. Sorry, tap target creature. It doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. Draw a card. Okay, so I mean, we've seen this kind of ability for 3. The mana discount there is just kind of a bonus. 3 mana doesn't untap, replaces itself is something that I would expect to see. So I think this is fine.
Yeah, blue controlling decks, you get to freeze them out of 2 attack steps with this.
Mm-hmm.
Plus a blocking step on the way back.
And it replaces itself, so there's no downside. Yeah, this is a 2/5.
Yeah, not the most high impact card, but a good card nonetheless.
Cobbled Lancer. 3/3 for 1 mana, an additional cost to cast this spell. Exile a creature card from your graveyard. Okay, so you just can't cast it on 1, basically. It's like a later cheap thing. For 4 mana, exile Cobble Caster from your graveyard, draw a card. Ooh. Okay, this is like a turn 3+ creature, because like you play your 3/1 for 2, slightly more aggressive, you trade, very aggressively, then you just boom, play this. And then it replaces itself. I like this card.
Yeah, this set, we'll have to see if there's any sort of self-mill, but the set definitely has some ways to enable this with exploit, because you can exploit itself, a creature can exploit itself. So there's a way to get a creature into the yard, and get an effect out of it. Replaces itself out of its graveyard. Yeah, it's a good card. Zombie.
I mean, even if you have nothing cute, I'm just fine to trade my 2 and 3 drop. That's just bound to happen. Like, if I'm playing this on 3 and 4, I'm not upset about it, and the fact that it's going to replace itself later is nice.
Yeah, the fact it's nice that it's a 1 mana spell, not because you can play it early, but because you can double spell later with it.
Yes, I think this is like a 3.
Yep,
I love this draw a card later thing. I'm all about it. Consuming Tide. 4 mana for a sorcery. Each player chooses a non-land permanent they control. Return all other non-land permanents not chosen this way to their owner's hand. Then you draw a card for each opponent who has more cards in their hand than you. So again, people have talked about how they're getting closer towards, playing towards EDH and multiplayer formats because that's where the money's at. So that makes sense. But, this is okay. If you're behind, you're definitely going to reset the board and get to draw and replace itself. So that feels good. This is playable, but it might not save you if you they have a huge board and you've got 1 card in hand. It might just kind of like slow the tide, not consume it.
Yeah, definitely context dependent, but probably worth playing in your deck because it's a get out of jail free reset button a lot of times, and it's really good against tokens.
Very good against tokens and enchantments and auras and things. Yeah, certainly. This will knock off all those nasty disturb auras.
It actually has kind of a weird interaction with those auras, right? Because you're returning them to their hand.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually bad against disturb auras.
I just meant that they get rid of them, right? If you have any ones that are, they can come back as a creature.
Yeah.
But it's, again, a slow process. If they're beating you down with this, like, troned up crazy thing.
Yes, you're right on that.
Transformed, whatever. I like it at, like, a 3/5.
Yeah, that sounds right. Powerful, but they're not always the best.
Very situational. Cradle of Safety. 2 mana for a flash enchantment aura. Whenever Cradle of Safety enters the battlefield, enchant creature gains hexproof until end turn. Enchant creature gets +1/+1. So this is just a reprint. This is Starlit Mantle. Is that correct?
Yes, I was trying to remember the name of it, but yeah, that's exactly
I remembered a name?
I remembered the set. I remembered what it did. I could not remember the name of it.
We switched places.
Yeah. It's the exact same card.
I'm so happy with myself right now. So Starlit Mantle, guys, I loved that card. It was one of my favorites in the set, clearly as to why I remember it. And it was $1 million. That card didn't pay off. I ran 3 of them in any deck I could, and I was always happy about it. This is at least a 3.
Yeah, probably marginally worse, just because that format had so many things that cared about enchantments, even more than we've seen here. It was the enchantment set after all, but it's still a very good card. It's probably not enough to even drop it down half a point. It's still in that 3 range.
All right. Cruel Witness, 4 mana for a 3/3 flyer. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, look at the top card of your library. You may put that card into your graveyard. Built-in Surveil. I mean,
I like this card.
3/3 flyer for 3, for 4 is great. I mean, it's fine. I'm happy.
Yeah, with the occasional bit of filtering.
Yeah, get rid of a few late game lands. We're happy. This is happy land 3.
Yep.
Moving on. All right. Diver Scab. It is a zombie 3/5 for 5 mana with exploit. When it exploits a creature, target creature's owner. Wait. When it exploits a creature, target creature's owner puts it onto the top of their library. So it's a bounce. Got it. Not sure why I had so much trouble shuffling that around.
No, it reads awkwardly, even though it reads correctly.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, sacrifice a creature and you get to bounce something to the top or bottom of their library.
I mean, I don't like that for 5 mana. Like, if you're exploiting itself, or if you're likely to have to exploit a creature that's valuable, then I don't really love the exploitability. If it's sacking a token and something meaningless or something with disturbed, great. You get a great body at a pretty discounted rate. Like, I'm willing to put something on top of my opponent's library for, at sorcery speed, let's say 3 mana. We had a 4 mana one that was instant speed and made a zombie, so it's like 2 to 3 mana. But we also get a built-in 3/5, so we're only paying 2 mana, 2.5 mana for that body. Pretty happy. So this is going to depend upon the build-around style.
I think it's very unlikely that this is the only thing you have to sacrifice, and I think that is the absolute worst case for this card.
That's super weird, because when we were talking about training in the color that's designed to have a wide board, and you're like, well, this is an awful top deck if you have no other creatures. Like, how can you be so
and that's
one-sided?
The worst case. And that's the worst case on this card. And I'm still happy with that. I'm still okay with it. I'm happier with the worst case on this card than I'm happier with the worst case on those cards.
All right, fair enough. If you like 5 mana sorcery speed, let your bomb kill me 1 turn later. All right. Dreadlight Monstrosity. I gave it a 2/5, guys. Again, with some downside, some upside if you've got the wider blue deck. Holy shit, I love the art on this card. Is that 1 crab? Is it 100 crabs? Is it a crab orgy?
That's a very good question. I'm guessing if it's a monstrosity, that's probably 1 really big crab.
There's so many. 6 mana for a 5/5 crab horror with ward 2. 5 mana dread light monstrosity. Can't be blocked this turn. Activate only if you own a card in exile. Okay, so it's got some like weird other card synergies that it doesn't like do on its own, which is fine.
Yeah. Sorry, I got distracted by something in chat.
Crab orgy?
No, the discussion about the last card.
I mean, if you would like to go back and argue about it for 10 more minutes,
No, it's about something different. It's not about our dispute on it. It's about whether or not we misread the card, which we did not.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
No, this card, I like this card. I mean, ward is a nice protection, and the ward is always better on big creatures because you generally want to protect them more. Ability, I don't think, is going to be that hard to activate. No, it's a good card. Not a bomb, but I'm happy with this on my top end.
Yeah, add a common. It's fine. Even if you don't think you're ever going to get that extra like synergy thing, sometimes you just need a 6 mana idiot, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you think you are going to be able to activate it, 5 is still a lot, but it is still a 5/5 ward, which is cute. Still not great. 2/5 if you've got anything that goes with it.
Yeah, I think it's a 2/5. But yeah, sometimes it's just a dumb idiot.
Dream Shackle Geist, a 3/1 for 3 mana with flying. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose up to 1. Tap target creature. Tap target creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. So that's cute.
Yeah, this card's good. Reasonable rate. The ability can be really good. I mean, it's pretty easy to get this in if you can always tap their flying blockers. And sometimes if they've been trying to beat you down with something, you can just keep something down, locked down turn after turn.
Yeah. It's a 3-power, 3 mana flyer. It's going to kill people. And then it helps you win the race. A lot of times these flying decks have trouble beating ground creatures, wide decks, things like that. But if they're attacking you back with even a higher power rate, then you're just like, okay, one of your creatures doesn't untap, and now you've got this nice little edge in the race, which I really like. It is 1 toughness, so we'll see how well that plays out once we get to green and see some of the 1/1 flyers. We saw an enchantment that made that already, so I think this is an amazing card regardless. I think it's a 4.
Yeah, I've got it as a 4.
Real quick, special shout out to Echo5 Bravo. Thank you so much. Appreciate the raid, guys. Welcome to the channel. We're currently doing our Crimson Vow limited set review, 1 to 5, on how we think they will play in limited. All right, Fear for Death, 2 mana for an enchant aura creature. When this enters the battlefield, mill 2 cards. Enchant creature gets -X, -O, where X is the number of cards in your graveyard. So guaranteed 2 mana, -2, -O. With some graveyard synergy, which is kind of cute if you have anything for that. Like a 3/3 for 1.
Yeah, it's really nice with that card. Either way, right? It's nice if you have it in your hand. It's not that bad if you mill that, because you're just going to get to exile later to draw a card. Yeah, this is like pseudo removal.
Yeah, we've seen things like this, but they typically have flash in a lot of cases, which makes it kind of like a reverse combat trick, which I usually like. So this one's a little less exciting, but I think it's a 23rd playable card.
Yeah, I think this is the card you're going to want in blue-white to help lock down the ground while you beat down in the air. But in a lot of other decks, it's not going to be that great.
2?
Yep.
All right. Geistlight Snare, 3 mana for an instant. Target spell costs 1 less to cast if you control... This spell costs 1 less to cast if you have a spirit. It also costs 1 less to cast if you control an enchantment. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. So this could be a 1 mana counter spell with a pay. 3 is the kind of gray area. The 2 mana ones I don't like. The 3 mana ones I'd rather not run them. And then the 4 mana ones I tend to like. So how do you feel about this particular counter spell, Yanks?
This is reliably 2 mana. It's very good. I mean, Mana Leak is just a very good card. And obviously if you can get it to 1, it's great. But, even at 3, it's playable. So, this card's going to make it into your decks. But it's not super exciting.
I definitely agree. I think I still like Flip the Switch better. Right.
Yeah, I agree with that. 4 mana and an upside and a bonus on that, I think that was better.
Yeah, I really think that my line to be happy is that it's a 4 mana pay, but the fact that this gets to be cheap is nice. So this is going to shine in the white blue decks, right? Because you have that enchantment and stuff, and then they're never going to play around it when you have 1 open mana.
For sure. I also like to see the rest of blue to see how many do you have instant speed card draw, do you have other instant speed things, because the more other instant speed options you have make leaving up counters better.
Instant cast draw spells, things like that. That'll make
draw
this
spells,
way better.
flash creatures.
I like it at a 2/5.
Yeah, I think that's where I have it. Better in some decks, worse in others.
All right, I'll let you take this one.
Geralf Visionary Stitcher, 2 and a blue for a 1/4 human wizard legendary creature. Zombies you control have flying. And you can pay blue, tap it, and sacrifice another non-token creature and get an XX blue zombie token where X is the sacrifice creature's toughness. So I really want to play this with that 04 egg.
Yeah. It's
but on
toughness,
its own,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, on its own, it's a 3 mana 1/4. It's a good blocker, a little bit of a bonus with zombies. Obviously, you're going to want to play this in blue-black more than any other pair.
Also, 3 mana for a 1/4 is fine-ish. Any incidental zombies get better. Even if I don't think I'm going to sack anything of relevance, then I'm pretty happy. Also, the sack is at instant speed, so it's going to kind of negate some of that removal from your opponent, which I like a lot. So I think this is going to be playable in any deck. It's never getting cut.
Oh, I definitely agree. Yeah, I'm never cutting this card just because of the way it can blank removal.
So this can go one of two ways. I think it's like on its own, it's a 3/5. Like on its own, if you have 0 interaction, it's a 3. And then like you're gonna have a zombie, right? You're gonna have whatever. So I'm gonna give it a 3/5. And I think in the right deck with eggs and with other stuff and heavy zombies, this could be the game-winning card for you. This could just be the rare that you want.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right on that. Quick look in blue, there are 8 blue zombies, although one of them already has flying, so 7 relevant blue zombies.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the Gutter Skulker. It is a 3/3 for 4 mana, and it can't be blocked as long as it is attacking alone. With Disturbed for 4 mana, enchant creature. Can't be blocked as long as it's blocking alone. That's a nice little bonus. Put that on something bigger. We like this.
Yeah, blue decks a lot of times are trying to win longer games with a single thing getting through that's unblockable. Like you see those creatures that pay X mana, some amount of mana, and give themselves unblockable. And that's often a win condition for blue decks in Limited.
Definitely. What do we like this at?
I think this is like a 2/5.
Okay.
I could see it as a 3.
I put it at 3 only because it's also a spirit, and getting to come back and make something else a thing. And the fact that you don't have to pay mana to make it unblockable every turn like you typically do makes me really happy.
Yeah, I think thinking about it a little more, I think you're probably right. 3 is probably better for this. It's only slightly above rate, even without the abilities.
Hullbreaker Horror. 7 mana for a 7/8 Kraken Horror. It has Flash. Holy smokes. This can't be countered. Less relevant in Limited, but fine. Whenever you cast a spell, choose up to 1. Return target spell you don't control to its owner's hand. Or return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. So it's a built-in counterspell / bounce spell onto a giant freaking Kraken Horror. All right.
Yeah, this card's just dumb.
I mean, it's a lot of mana, but I'm playing this.
Yeah, and it's... Yeah, and it has built-in protection against removal, but if you have any other instant speed spell, you can, divide by 0 the removal spell back to their hand. Yeah, this card's great.
This will be kind of a cute thing in the control mirrors for Constructed. We don't really talk about Constructed here, but like they can't counter it. You counter their thing, and then it's a beater that they have to deal with. Like it's a lot of like things in one card here. What do we like it for score-wise and Limited? I think it's like a 3/5. It's real expensive, and also like you might not counter something relevant, because it's so much mana, you don't really get to have any say. And also there might not be anything to bounce, so it just kind of depends. It's not a game breaker.
I think I've got it at like a 4, just because the fact that it has Flash is exactly what you want in blue, but...
Yeah. I'm just wondering how often this like comes down. Like, if I'm at 7 mana and we're like kind of on top decky mode, like, am I really sitting around for too long? Or like, you're not really incentivized to hold it forever because you might just want to like play it and get them dead. I don't know. So it's kind of a tough card.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that on top deck mode. What I like about it in top deck mode of that is I don't cast it, make you think maybe I'm holding a counter spell, maybe you don't do something, and then I just flash this in at end of turn.
Definitely.
But yeah, I think it's in that 3/5 to 4 range, depending just on what the speed of the format is.
Yeah, I'm worried that I'll get into this weird situation where I have other cards or creatures to play, but I'm like, well, I don't know when I'm going to need to counter something. So do I just like do nothing and hold this open forever? Or do I like play a creature and not hold this open and just wait until I run out of cards? It's super awkward at 7 mana.
Yeah, I mean, you can only, you need instants in your hand to counter things, right?
What do you mean?
So it's whenever you cast a spell, choose up to one. So in order to return a spell you don't control its owner's hand, you have to be able to cast a spell with something on the stack.
I thought it said whenever you cast this spell. I thought it was a built-in counter. I completely
misread
this card.
Whenever you cast any other spell once this is on the battlefield.
This does not do at all what I thought it did. Ignore everything I said. Okay. Okay. The awkwardness goes away. It's still expensive, but it's really cute. This is better than I thought. And infinitely less awkward. Okay. All right. I like a 4. I thought it was just a one-time built-in bounce counter.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, actually, the counter side would probably be better in that case because it has flash and you can get something right away with it. But the unsummoned side is way worse on that side.
Yes. But even the counter side is really awkward because then you're just holding open 7 mana for how long? Like,
agreed. Holding up 7 is tough.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I don't know how I feel about this, but it's playable. But no, it's actually just good. Okay, cool. We're just gonna flash this in end of turn with like 2 extra instants in our hand. We just wait and then we just get them. It turns your like random combat trick into a counter spell. Great.
Yeah, I'm gonna tap your thing down, draw a card, and counter whatever you just played.
Awesome. Inspired Idea, 3 mana for a sorcery with cleave for 5. Draw 3 cards. Your maximum hand side is reduced by 3 for the rest of the game. You know, that's honestly not that much of a downside in Limited. Yeah, I'm actually fine with this. Like, I'm not casting it on 3 like you typically do for divination, but you just don't draw cards until you start to run out of gas, and then after that, you don't tend to have a whole lot more than 4 cards anyway.
Yeah, it's interesting because this is worse than divination in exactly really one way, which is that divination is good to play on turn 3 to help hit your 4th and extra land drops.
Yes,
and you don't really want to do that here. And if you're going to cast it later, you can probably just pay the 5 to not have the downside. But I'm still okay with that, and I'm okay with paying the 3 if I'm hellbent otherwise, and having a good chance of playing something I just drew that turn.
Yeah. I think it's minimal downside.
Yeah.
Like you said, 5 is actually not that bad, but I also don't just mind waiting until in Limited, we get to that mid to late game where I'm just happy to just cast this, draw 3 cards, and depending on what my deck looks like or how close I am to death, because I might need to play more spells, right? Yes. But I definitely agree that the weak side of this is that with divination you can hit your land drops, whereas this is more about refilling your hand later in the game for the controlling decks, not for the land drop decks.
Agreed.
What do we like it score-wise? I think it's like a 3.
Yeah, I think it's probably a 3 on average. The more controlling decks are going to want this more, or even a really aggressive, I don't know what a really aggressive blue deck there might be in this format, but a really aggressive deck to just refill for 3 mana and then play a 2-drop or something on turn 5 if you dumped your hand.
Yeah.
Now, that deck may not exist in this format, who knows, but it could.
Jacob Hawkins Inspector, 2 mana for an 0/2. Tap, draw a card, then exile a card from your hand face down. You may look at that card for as long as it remains exiled. You may pay 6. If you do, transform the Inspector into the Hawkins Insight, a legendary enchantment at the beginning of your upkeep. Exile a top card of your library face down. You may look at that card as long as it remains exiled. Once during each of your turns, you may play a land card or cast a spell from among the cards exiled this way. Exiled with this permanent, without paying its cost. That's a pretty key word there at the end. So for 6 mana, which makes it not a bad late game draw either. Early, it lets you do two things. It lets you pitch late game cards you can't really use. 6 drops, excess lands, whatever the case may be, to redraw. So you can also make sure you hit your lands with this card by tossing your, medium permanents if you're a little tight on land, or if you start to flood, you just filter them out. And then for 6, you're going to get an additional draw each turn, essentially, and you can play only one of them per turn, but I think that's fine. I like this card a fair amount. It's really good for the long stabilizing decks. I will say be careful not to pitch anything too important expecting to get it back, because they could kill this before it flips, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out some rules thing on this card. Like if you exile it with the front half of the card, do you still get to use it and play it when it's on the backside?
It says, yes, I think you do. It says exiled with this permanent, which it doesn't say with Hawkins Insight. So I think that this still counts as the same permanent.
I think that's correct. The other kind of weird thing is the way that front side is written. I believe you have to pay the 6 as part of that one ability resolution.
Okay, yeah, that's a bit strange, but not terribly relevant.
Yeah. No, it's just kind of weird, because then it doesn't say do it as a sorcery or anything like that, so that's just a little bit of a weird thing. It's just you don't want to activate this ability until you are willing to pay you don't want to activate it like in your first main phase and then plan on paying 6 on end step or something.
It's a bit
slow. It doesn't quite work that way.
But it's going to win you the game in the long run if you get there.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have any sort of relevant body on its own. It has no lasting impact on the board.
No, but it's basically a Merfolk looter on the front side.
Yeah.
Which is always a good effect to have, especially if you don't have to pay any mana for it.
It reminds me of Bag of Holding.
Yeah, I can see that.
You pay 2 mana, you loot away your card, you then get them back. Now, it costs you 2 mana to do the looting for the Bag of Holding, but it also doesn't cost you 6 mana to start getting them back.
No, it costs you 4, right?
I don't remember what it was, to be honest, but
yeah,
yes,
it's 4.
And then you also get all of them to your hand. There's no restriction on how you can play them if you choose to do that. And also, once you get them back, you can still play them, whereas they can still blow up the enchantment, the insight, after the fact, and then you just lose those cards.
On the flip side, you get to play them for free here.
Yes, which is also pretty relevant. But by the time you hit 6 mana, how relevant is it if you can only cast one of them? It's relevant if you're drawing other big expensive cards,
exactly.
But that's also sort of sometimes it'll be relevant, sometimes it won't be super relevant. So
yeah.
Bit of a give and take for a mythic. It's a bit slow and a bit vulnerable, but I think it's fine. I think it's a 3/5.
Yeah, I've got it at 3/5.
All right. Lanternbearer, 1 mana for a 1/1 flyer with Disturbed. 3 mana. You get a enchant creature, gets +1/+1, and has flying. This is the better of the bunch, I think. I think flying is super relevant, and it actually has the stat included with it.
Yeah, this card's fine. Low impact on the front side, but 1/1 flying is not useless.
No. And it's a spirit. I will play a 1/1 flying spirit.
Yeah. No, I think this card's good. It's a 3.
Yeah, I'm actually getting to the point where I'm tempted to give it a little bit better. But that's going to be based on synergy. I think +1/+1 in flying is pretty darn good. But yeah, I think a 3 is safe.
Yep.
All right, Lunar Rejection, 2 mana for a return target wolf or werewolf creature to its owner's hand. Draw a card. Cleave just says return target creature to its owner's hand. Draw a card. I love drawing cards. I love bounce spells. 4 mana is fine for me. I'm fine with this.
Yeah, we paid 4 mana in the last format for a 1/1. In that case, it was put it on top or bottom versus draw a card. It's the same, and you got a zombie, which is probably somewhat equivalent to having the occasional upside of playing this for 2. Yeah, I think this card's very good.
3?
Yeah, I think it's a 3.
All right. Mirror Hall Mimic, 3 mana spirit. You may have Mirror Hall Mimic enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield except it's a spirit and additional to its other types. This is important. Most copy spells only copy your shit, which makes it borderline unplayable. But copying anything means you just always will have a target. And then when you can disturb it, enchant at the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of enchanted creature, except it's a spirit in addition to its other types. So you get one of those creatures that it enchants every single turn?
Yep.
And it just says enchant creature, it doesn't say your creature, so you can just put it onto their biggest thing and then make one of those every turn?
Yep.
What? The backside of this is nuts. How many times do you think someone's going to have to cast their premium removal spell on their own bomb just to stop you from killing them? Oh my god, that makes me all warm and fuzzy and tingly inside.
Yeah, this card's great. I mean, 4 mana. It's 4 mana for a spirit version of the best creature on the battlefield. And then when it dies, you get this back half, which is nuts.
And if you happen to put it on their creature, you can never get like it's a 1-for-1 because it's going to get removed, and then you put it on their thing, and then you get a thing, and then they have to remove their own thing or run it into your thing or whatever. Holy smokes, I'm happy with this. Is this a 5? It's a 4-5.
I think it's a 4-5. Because the front half still requires support to be good. Either on your side or their side. Backside is really good. I guess the only spot where it's not amazing is against bounce, right? They can bounce their own creature. Which
yes.
is still good. Because you still made them spend it on their creature. But
that's still not a ton of weaknesses.
No, it's not.
Still a 1-for-1. Still time walks them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whew, I love it. It's a 4-5.
It could be a 5.
It could, yeah. If you get one turn with this on the backside, you're really happy. All right. Mischievous Catgeist? Is this the cutest card ever? And I'm not even a cat person.
I don't know, that version of Hamlet Vanguard with Hammy might be the cutest card ever.
Shh, don't give away our green section, man. All right, Mischievous Catgeist is a 1/1 for 2. It's a cat spirit. Whenever it deals damage, combat damage to a player, draw a card. Ooh, it's like the cute otter. And then for disturbed 3, enchant blah, 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 blah. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, which is great. I love this card. This is fantastic.
Yeah, card's good. It's going to be hard to get this thing in without some help, but that's okay because the backside you can put it on whatever's most likely to get in.
Yeah. Great. Also, it's only 2 mana, so if you're on the play, sometimes you're going to get to attack with this.
Yeah, true.
Bounce spells, removal spells, they all help suit this up. I mean, I loved Otter. Otter was a 2/2 for 3, but it got in enough.
Yeah, the big advantage to Otter, I think, was the mutate onto it.
Yes.
Which was nice, but...
Yes.
But
Heron onto Otter was just... warm and tinglies.
No, this card's very good.
2/5?
Yeah, 2/5, and I think this, the more sort of early tempo your deck is, the better this is going to be.
Yep. All right, I'll let you take this one.
Necro Duality, 3 and a blue for an enchantment. Whenever a non-token zombie enters the battlefield under your control, create a token that's a copy of that creature. This feels just like a kind of a build around. You have to have enough zombies to make this worth it.
Yeah, this is similar to... we've seen things like this, and they're always kind of borderline playable. I don't tend to build around these kind of build arounds, but it's definitely possible.
Yeah, one thing that is nice with it being zombies is that a decent number of the blue zombies have exploit, so you can either get a copy of it or a copy of the effect, depending whichever is better.
That's true.
Because, you could sacrifice the copy of it to itself, which is nice. But yeah, I think you need a lot of zombies for this to be good.
Definitely. All right. So, I think this is pretty much a 1 in the average deck. I'll make a note of it being a build around.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think blue-black probably, it could be very good.
Overcharged Amalgam, 4 mana for a flash flying 3/3 with exploit, and when it exploits, you can counter target spell, activated ability, or triggered ability, which is super cute. I like that they added all those different types of things that it can counter. It makes it very flexible. And if you've got some cheap things to cast, it's also it's a 3/3 for 4 mana flash on its own, which is just better than the 5 mana one I was playing in the last set, and like fine to do so.
Yeah, you're giving me a counterspell stapled to a win condition. I like the sound of this.
Yes, exactly. I think this card is quite good. What are we thinking score-wise? It's not winning the game on its own, but it's certainly very powerful.
Yeah, I mean, I'm somewhat biased because I just love this type of card, so I want to say 4 or 5, but it's probably a 4.
Okay, so I want to say 3/5 because I don't tend to like, but it's probably a 4. So like,
yeah,
whoop, right into the middle. Perfect. All right.
Yeah, I do think an achievement for this has to be flashing this in to counter like a Planeswalker ultimate.
Right. Let's hope that nobody's Planeswalker ultimating me in limited. Patchwork Crawler, 2 mana for a 1/2. Pay 3 mana, exile target creature card from your graveyard. Put a +1/+1 counter on this crawler. Patchwork Crawler has all activated abilities of all creature cards exiled with it. Oh, that's cute. Way less relevant in limited, but still cute.
Yeah, it has all activated abilities, so not keywords or anything like that. Yeah, this is a pretty good card.
I mean, you have to pay 5 mana for it to be like at rate. A 2/3. Yeah. So I feel like if I don't have things for it to actually, if I don't have activated abilities that I think, oh, this might synergize with, even if it's unlikely, I'm cutting it, I think.
I agree with that. I'm just kind of scrolling through out of curiosity, scrolling through blue to see what activated abilities we have.
Blue also has disturb cards, so I'm not going to want to, you know, a percentage of creatures in my graveyard I'm not going to want to activate with this.
Sure. Yeah, blue does not have a ton of activated abilities that you want.
So it's going to have a ton of support. This feels constructed playable. I think this is going to be a 1.5. Because if you don't have disturbed, then sure, it's going to snowball. It's a 2-drop to fill your curve. If you need 2 drops, it's going to make the cut.
Yeah, nope, I agree with that. I think either you want to have very little disturb, or even if you do have disturb, if you have enough activated abilities, then you'll play it.
All right. We have Respiratory Scav, 4 mana for a 3/3 zombie with exploit, and when it exploits, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand, which I like. Good ability. It's a relevant creature type. It gets me stuff.
Yeah. You gotta have the right targets. I mean, this, I would assume, even though we haven't seen it, is probably best in blue-red. That's the kind of effect that's usually the best in that deck.
Yes.
But, yeah, 4 mana 3/3 is a little overpriced, but sometimes you'll get some good value by exploiting something that's under an aura, or, you know, has it as a disturb card you can get back or something like that.
Yeah, or an egg. I think that, you know, the value of these things really depend upon how likely it is that it's going to be sacking itself. Because in the last set we saw 4 mana for a 2/1 that did something for free, and you actually got to keep the body. So without the sacrifice synergy and the premium targets to do the exploiting, it's worse than rate of what we would see in a typical set. But if you're sacrificing an egg or a 1/1 token or whatever, some incidental thing, then you're getting way above rate. So it's basically just taking what you would expect from a card and giving you a lower floor and a higher ceiling. So realistically, it's probably rated exactly where they would have been if they were a typical card, right?
Yeah, I think we still need to see quite what the support is for this, but I think you're right as a whole.
Some gifted subs, thank you, hun. We shout those out in between colors, much appreciated. Score-wise, I think this is a 3. I think if you're playing this, you've got some good synergy, and I like this card.
Yeah, I think it's like almost kind of a split card, but you can kind of do that for almost every exploit card, so I don't want to do that. So yeah, it's probably around a 3.
All right, Scattered Thoughts. 4 mana for an instant. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. Put 2 of those cards in your hand and the rest into your graveyard. Putting them into your graveyard. Chef's kiss. that this is the set you want to be doing this. This is card advantage. It's instant speed. Jiminy Christmas. Oh, this is one of the better draw spells we've seen in a long time. Right?
Yeah, this card's very good.
This card's spectacular.
Yeah, take the best 2 out of 4, and sometimes you're effectively drawing 3 or 4 if you can put something relevant in the graveyard.
I'll say you're probably averaging in the average deck. You're probably drawing 2.5 cards at instant speed for 4 mana, which feels pretty good. And there's cards that say, like, exile 3 cards from your graveyard, gain indestructible, exile a creature from your card, cast this card for cheap, dirt cheap. So like there's other synergies there too. Even if you're not getting that half card, you only draw 2, you're still enabling some other cool stuff. So this is a 3/5 for me. It feels like an auto include in every blue deck.
Yep, it makes your counter spells better in blue because you can do something else with your mana, makes your flash creatures better.
This makes it way less punishing to run oodles of counter spells, which is, I know what you want to be doing. All right, Screaming Swarm, 6 mana for a 4/4 flyer. Whenever you attack with 1 or more creatures, target player mills that many cards. A mill win condition? For me? Yes, please. 3 mana, put the Screaming Swarm from your graveyard into your library, second from the top. Oh, you'll never mill yourself. Also, look at that bird's face. What the fuck? I just saw that. That's insane. Well, the thing is, if you're hitting them with a 4/4 flyer over and over again, you're not going to mill them. They're going to die before then, and that's really unfortunate.
Yeah, I think this is a good finisher. I think you can mill yourself with this. It's target player. If you have stuff you want to get in the yard or things that affect it, being able to, making it a recursive threat is nice. It's just an all-around very solid card, albeit expensive.
Certainly. All right. Selhoff Tumor, 2 mana for a 1/4. Discard a creature card, draw a card. Ew, it has to be a creature? Gross. I don't like this one.
This is a weird blue filter card, right? It's backwards in multiple ways. Usually it's draw then discard for blue.
Yeah. I think the point is that this blue, in this particular format, you care more about being able to put stuff in the graveyard than you do about the actual drawing. I agree, it's worded very strangely, but it makes sense to me in this, because this is the enabler for the get the shit in my graveyard deck. So the draw card is sort of like the thing that happens with it, not vice versa. We're used to seeing like, okay, smooth my draws, get me the card advantage, let me pick my hand and control, whereas this is get shit in the graveyard. So, it's a 2. If you have some stuff, it's fine. It's going to stop the more aggressive decks. It's going to block well against the tokens. It's fine if you've got some stuff to put in the graveyard.
Yeah, I think that's about right. It's a 2. Yeah.
Serpentine Ambush, 2 mana until end of turn. Target creature becomes a blue serpent with base power 5/5. These are always kind of meh. You have to have something on the battlefield. They have to not be able to remove it in response. Sometimes it's not relevant, right? If they're hitting you with a 6/6 or a Death Toucher or whatever. They're playable, but never great.
I was trying to remember what card I was thinking of this was similar to. I'm thinking the Ikoria one that had cycling that made it a 4/4.
Yep, there's that one. And then we had another one. Was it in Strixhaven? Was it a Simic one in Strixhaven or something? Sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah, that one that one I don't quite remember, but I definitely these cards are always like playable, but probably cuttable.
Borderline for me. I will say that this is a great sideboard card against red, likely. For people who have got like small burn spells, first strike, combat tricks, things like that. I like it. Also against white pump spells. Like they're gonna throw their 2/2 into your 3/3, and then they're gonna be like waiting for you to get you, and then you're just like, but I got you, right? Like I think this is sideboard for me. I don't think I'm going to run this card, but it is a 23rd playable card if you should be short.
Yeah, agreed with that.
Skywarp Scab, 5 mana for a Zombie Drake 2/5 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile up to 2 creature cards from your graveyard. If you do, draw a card. I like this. This is great.
Yeah, not even really sure what to think about 5 mana 2/5 flyer in terms of stats. It feels okay. It's just a weird combination, but the ability to replace itself. You're going to be playing this later in the game, so it's a pretty good chance you've got 2 creatures in your yard.
I like a little booty. This is going to eat literally all the flyers in the format, except for the few 4/4s, and then even then, it still stonewalls them. So it's just the thing that rules the sky. There's going to be 3 flyers in the format that are just that don't just die to this. So I think that's great. And then also, late game, it replaces itself. It's a great flyer. I think this card is something I'm never cutting, unless I just have oodles of 5-drops. And if that's the case, it's probably more than one of these.
Yeah, that's true. No, the card's very good. I was just thinking it's a little bit of an odd stat combination.
Definitely, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah, no, me too.
3.
Yeah, I think I've got it as a 3.
Yeah, that draw card always makes me real close to putting it at a 3/5. I'll let you take this one.
We have Soul Cipher Board, 1 and a 2 for an artifact. It enters the board with 3 omen counters on it. You can pay 1 and a blue, tap it, look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them into your graveyard. And whenever a creature card is put into your graveyard from anywhere, remove an omen counter from this. And if it has no omen counters, transform it. And it transforms into Cipherbound Spirit, which is a 3/2 flyer, can only block flyers. You can pay 4 to draw 2, discard 1.
That backside is cute. Also, you don't even have to put the mana into it. You can just play it for 2, let it pop naturally. You get a win condition that also just gives you card advantage. I'm about it.
Yeah, no, I think this card's very good.
The other thing too is it's going to let you do multiple things, right? It's going to let you draw half cards by putting things with Disturb into your graveyard. And it's also going to cycle away all of your lands. So each time you do this, you're going to be essentially drawing a card. Either it be remove the land you don't want to draw, preventing you from drawing it, or getting you one deeper, right? Slash giving you a half a card to replay out of your graveyard.
Yeah, considering that probably most of the time you're going to be activating this on your end step, you basically just get to pick which of the top 2 cards you want to draw for your turn.
And sometimes it's going to be, getting rid of things you don't want, not just scrying, deciding. It's actually just removing them, which is really nice.
Yep.
I like this backside a lot too. I think it's really strong.
Yeah, I mean 3/2 flyer. It can only block flyers. You generally don't want your 3/2 flyers blocking non-flyers that often anyway. If you do, you're already in trouble.
Certainly not.
And then just 4 mana card advantage.
Yeah. And the discard isn't even a bad thing because you're still going to get to play the cards on the backside if it is something relevant. If not, it's just an extra land you don't need anymore. So This is great. Is this a 3/5?
I have a 3/5.
All right. Steel-clad Spirit, 3/3 for 2 with Defender. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, Steel-clad Spirit can't attack this turn as though it didn't have Defender. Sideboard card in the average deck for needing a Defender. But in the only deck, in the white-blue deck specifically, this is okay. It doesn't have flying, so I'm not in love with it. It's still kind of medium, even if you are in that deck.
Yeah, I think that deck, I think I'm playing this more so just because it comes up the ground a bit.
Yeah. It feels like the upside is not super high. So I feel like this is a 1/5. There's going to be a deck that wants it, and even that deck, it's still like a 2/5.
Yeah, agreed. I think, most of the time you're looking at slightly worse than playable.
All right, moving on. Stitched Assassin, 3 mana for a 3/2 with Exploit. Whenever it exploits, scry 1, then draw a card. Okay. So you have to be sacking a creature that's worth less than a card. So if it's under an enchantment, it feels good. It doesn't have flash, which makes me a little sad, but it's filler on its own, a 3/2 for 3, right? So if we need 3 drops, we're happy to play this. Maybe we don't even use its ability, but sometimes it comes in handy.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time, probably what you're sacrificing, without specific circumstances, is probably better than. It's not quite a random card because of the Scribe, but mostly a random card.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fine on its own without the ability.
Again, I think the power of this is like 100% something I want to run with cards like Egg or Wretched Throng and things like that kind of incentivize you to like get this added value. But if your deck just doesn't have that synergy, I think this is 2/5.
Yeah, I think that's probably about right.
All right, Storm Chaser Drake, 2 mana for a 2/1 flyer. When it becomes the target of a spell you control, draw a card. Okay, so this includes a spell you control. So this includes the enchantments that are coming back out of your graveyard in the blue-white deck. This includes things like pump spells in blue-green, pump spells in blue-white. So there's a lot of targets that are going to do this, and it's going to let you just cycle through. 2 mana for a 2-power flyer. I'm on board. This card is fantastic.
Yeah, I don't think I'm quite as high on it as you are. I do think it's a good card. I mean, it's a good card on its own. 2 mana, 2/1 flyer. I think it's good with the Disturb Auras. Pump spells with flyers, a lot of times it feels like you're just kind of cycling them because you don't often have to use them to win combat with flyers.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely an upside.
Yeah, I think the auras are where it's at for this, but I mean, it does just make other things better.
Yeah.
If they go to remove it and you bounce it in response, like there's a ton of really cool interactions with this card. I think it's like a 3/5.
Yeah, I've got it as a 3. I think it's just a little too low impact for it to be higher, but it's good. It's efficient.
And I think 3/5 is assuming you've got some interaction. If you don't, I think you're right. It's probably like a 2/5. So the correct answer is probably spot on, 2 or 3.
Right in the middle.
But it looks fucking sweet, and I'm going to be playing it and drawing some cards. All right, Syncopate. We always see this card. It's better in Sealed than it is in Draft, I think. Draft's a bit, faster, but like this is still a good counterspell.
Yeah, Exile is relevant. That it's flexible in terms of, you can cast it sometimes for 2 mana, and it's good. But it doesn't scale great in the late game. It's, again, the more other instant speed effects you have that are not counter spells, the better this is.
We like it at a 3?
I think I have it as a 2/5.
Okay, I'm surprised.
I haven't Syncopate. I haven't had great experiences with in Limited. Definitely better in Sealed. I'm always playing this card in Sealed.
I loved Syncopate actually in Dominaria with those heavy ass kicker spells.
It was good in Dominaria.
It's very good in Dominaria, and I think I didn't like Syncopate until then, and then now I'm like, oh, maybe it's just better than I think it is.
Yeah.
All right, Siphon Essence, 3 mana for counter target creature or planeswalker spell. Create a blood token. I actually like these counter spells. Like, I know that it's restrictive, but in Limited, it's not that restrictive. Like, I know these things don't make playable in Constructed, right? Because the things that are the problem are the non-creature spells in Constructed. But in this, you're always going to hit something, and if you draw it late in the game, you're not punished because doesn't have that like pay clause to like let your opponent get out of it. It's never a dead draw. It's not going to hit the premium thing, but you're going to have a use for it, and it lets you cycle away a land late in the game if you have no other relevant synergies for blood. So I like this.
Yeah, no, I like these cards too. Most of your bombs are going to be creatures. Not all of them, but most of them. The blood token is nice. Blue a lot of times has an excess of cards, so being able to pitch a extra land you drew to get something relevant is nice. It's another thing to do with your mana at instant speed.
3?
No, I think this card's good. I think it's a 3, yep.
Thirst for Discovery, 3 mana, draw 3 cards. Then discard 2 cards unless you discard a basic land card. That's exactly what I want to be discarding in Limited. Fantastic! How did you know? You're not guaranteed to hit it, but oftentimes you probably have an extra one lying about anyway. And if you draw 3, pretty good chance you're going to hit it. It's instant speed, making our counterspells amazing. This is just infinitely better than divination. I love it.
Yeah, I don't know how many different ways they're going to print cards like this with discard, unless you discard X. I mean, you started with Compulsive Research, which was any land, but that was a sorcery, Thirst for Knowledge. I forget what the artifact one was from the most recent, or enchantment one from the most recent Theros set. But they're always good, because they're always based on the set.
This one, and the card that you're discarding could also be card, like if you miss the land or you need the land or whatever, you could just pitch your disturbed cards.
Yeah, this card is very good. You have 2 extremely good instant speed draw spells here in blue.
Yes, I'm very happy with it. Is this a 3 or a 3/5?
I think if we gave the other one a 3/5, we have to give this a 3/5.
All right, Wanderlight Spirit, 3 mana for a 2/3 flying spirit. And Wanderlight Spirit can only block creatures with flying, which I'm fine with. 3 mana for a flying relevant creature type. That's slightly better stats than I would expect to see on a flyer. I'm happy. This is a 3.
Yep.
It can only
simple card, but good.
It can only block creatures with flying, but it's got a little extra booty, and it has a relevant creature type, which Drake usually isn't. So it's a negative and a bonus.
Yeah, nope. All for it is a 3.
Wash away 1 mana for counter target spell that wasn't cast from its owner's hand, or it's a true counterspell? Counterspell's blue. It's a cancel.
It's a cancel.
That's what I was trying. I couldn't get the word out of my head. Or it's a cancel, which is fine. So I play cancel, and you get a little bit of a bonus if it just happens to not be from their hand. So I would just look at this and rate it as a cancel, honestly.
Yeah, I like this card. I mean, I typically don't like cancel. Part of the reason I like this card is we're seeing these great instant speed card draw effects. So these cards get better, but being able to 1 mana counter to back half of any disturbed card,
yeah,
some of those are pretty scary.
Especially because they're coming into the graveyard for free as a draw, so you're not actually like 2-for-1ing yourself. They probably cast a spell to get that into the graveyard, so it's like fine. Yeah. We can probably just give this a 3. I like cancel well enough.
Yeah, I think so. Again, just like every counter spell, it's probably better in sealed.
Villain J, thank you for the raid. Whispering Wizard, 4 mana for a 3/2. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 white spirit token with flying. This ability triggers only once per turn. Whew, I love it. It's only 1 extra mana for rate. It's like a 1 1/4 extra mana for rate, because usually the 3/2 for 3s do a little something, even if it's slightly irrelevant. But it makes dudes. Every time you cast a thing, like a bounce spell that is usually net negative or whatever, yeah, we just hold open our counter spells. And we just counter your shit and then just kill you to death with little birds.
Yeah, triggers once each turn. You can play a creature on your turn, trigger it, counter something on their turn, trigger it. It feeds your exploit cards with tokens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this card's very good.
3/5?
Yeah, I think so. You do need to be in the right deck. Most of the blue decks are going to have plenty of spells, but there could be some that are more creature heavy. But,
even not in the right deck, you're going to get an incidental dude or two, which I'm happy with.
Yeah.
Wing Portent, 3 mana with Cleave. Draw a card for each creature with flying you control, or for 6 mana, draw a card for each creature. The creature thing's scary. Even if you pay the 6, you're still not guaranteed to draw a ton of creatures off of it. It is instant speed.
I don't particularly like this card. I mean, it's the worst of the card draw spells we've seen.
And it's at rare. This does not feel good to me. This is like a 2 at best?
Now, particularly in green-blue, maybe. We'll have to see if green's going kind of wide. Then maybe the cleave cost is relevant, but yeah, I don't like this card.
It's kind of cute, like a little bat swarm or whatever.
Yeah.
But Witness the Future. Target player shuffles up to 4 cards from their graveyard into their library. Look at the top 4 cards of your library, then put 1 of those cards into your hand, and then the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order for 3 mana. 3 mana. Put in the 4 best cards that you have used. Means you can never mill out if you run 2 of these, which is cute. And it replaces itself. It's not great. But there are like some weird upsides. I mean, I see people run these sort of cycling abilities. It's sorcery speed, which I also like less. Like a 2. These things are always like, people are going to play them. I'm never going to be happy about it. And I'm never scared when people play it.
Yeah, I think this is going to get cut most of the time. There are some scenarios you can shuffle some of their cards into their deck if you want to get rid of some disturb stuff that maybe is scarier on the backside.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, you can play this, but I prefer not to.
The only time I ever feel good about these kinds of things, usually it's attached to like a counter spell, which feels much better.
Sure.
If it's like counter your spell and put 4 removal spells back into my deck, whew, that's what I like to see. This is a little too just vanilla for me personally.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll give it a 1/5. Moving on, we got Wretched Throng, not Wretched Thong. 2 mana, 2/1, so it's a good little beater. 2 mana on curve thing that can get in some damage. It trades well, and whenever it dies, you can search your library for a card named Wretched Throng, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. This is a great thing for heavy exploit decks. I want 6 exploit decks and 4 of these, and then you're in business.
Yeah, how many do you think you need to have before you play this, before you are happy with this card?
3. And only if I have the exploit. Like, I'm not playing this if I don't have, like, the things that want to sack the thing.
Yeah.
I feel like I will play just 1 of these. Or
just as a 2-drop?
I will play just 2 of these if I have an exploit.
Yeah, and it's not the end of the world if you have to play this just without exploit, just because it's a 2-drop that can replace itself, or it is a zombie, which could be relevant. But yeah, I agree. I think you want exploit for this card to be good.
I don't think I'm playing it without it. Like, even if I have 5 or something, I don't think I'm doing that. But
no, I'm certainly not playing 5. I might play 2 just because I need 2-drops. But yes. Yeah, I'm not playing a lot of them unless I have exploit.
Yeah, if you need 2-drops, you'll play a 2/1 do nothing all the time. Yeah. Like, that's the 1.5 zone.
Yeah. Yep.
But this feels like it won't be hard to get value from it. But again, you can't really... This is something that's better for exploit and constructed than it is in limited, because even if you have the exploit cards, you're not guaranteed to have more than 1 of these.
Exactly. Yeah. It's always... but then again, it's not super powerful, so you're probably going to be able to pick them up late. So the decks that want them should be able to get a few of these, you would think.
Yeah, I wonder if this is a weird split card, because it's just not worth it on its own. You have to have it in multiples, and then you have to have another, like, other exploit things to make it worth it. It's like a 1/2/5?
Yeah, it could either be a split or just like a 1/5, and it's like, yes, rarely it'll be relevant.
Yeah, I like that. Give it a 1/5 and then say, like, but note,
there are times.
There are times you will have this, and you will be very happy to have 4 of them.
But wait, guys. There's more.
Yeah, there is literally coming out of its mouth. All right, guys, that's the end of Blue. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys leave us a comment down below. Let us know what you think of Blue and what cards we might have been right or wrong on. And I'll see you guys in the next video when we go over Black. All right, guys, thank you so much again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys. I'd like to give a special thank you to those of you who have signed up for our Patreon. I couldn't make this content without you. Also to Cool Stuff Inc. and KMC Sleeves for supporting the channel as well. Definitely check them out and use our discount codes to support the channel.